everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Market on Mic. And if you're joining us for the first time, you should know that this is the podcast where we dive into the world of trading, investing, and the strategies that actually drives the market. So if this is your first time ever listening to this, please go and make sure you listen to the episode 1 so you can have an understanding to what we're actually doing here. And if this is your second time, that is, if you've been following us from the very first episode, welcome to another exciting and another informative episode about the financial market. So in today's episode, we are going to be taking a deeper look at a trader's tool. We're going to be breaking down the key concept and offering insights that can help you level up, your trading game. So whether you're a beginner or an experienced trader, we have got something for you. So grab your headphones, get comfortable, and let us jump into episode 2. Remember, you have Natasha and
Daniel. Finally, you introduced me to the podcast. All right, so thank you very much, Natasha. You've said a whole lot already, and I'm sure that the guys or our listeners are actually very excited. Today, like she rightly said, we'll be going into or be trying to cover a variety of different financial instruments that you can look to diversify, trade, or invest into, ranging from stocks to forex to commodity to ETFs and to cryptocurrencies. And we'll be actually explaining how each of these markets works and why understanding each and every one of them is very important and crucial for your success in this space. Sounds exciting, right?
Sounds like an exciting episode already, Daniel. So let's get started.
All right, so let's start with the basics. From the very beginning, the aim of this podcast is to make investing and trading quite easier for you.
Yeah.
Right, so let's start from the very basics.
Okay, so Daniel, when you think of the word financial instrument, or when you think of financial instrument, what actually comes to mind?
Well, that is a very important and good question. Thank you. So, financial instrument, when we look at it, it actually comes in classes, right? So, we have, like we've always been saying, we have the forex market, we have the commodity market, we have the stock market, we have the cryptocurrency market. So, when we talk about the forex market is actually the currency market, and is more or less buying and selling of different foreign currencies or exchanging one currency for the other. So when you look at an instrument under the class of the currency market or the forex market, we have probably the euro, trading euro against the US dollar, or trading the US dollar against the Japanese yen, or trading the Great Britain pounds against the Canadian dollar. So those are like the instruments. And when you go into probably commodity, so commodity has its own class too. You have the metals, you have metals like gold, silver, you have energies like oil, natural gas, then you have the agro commodities like cocoa, you have cotton, you have soya beans.
Okay.
Then lastly, the stock market where you have different stocks, maybe US stocks, maybe German or Europe stocks, UK stocks, Japanese stocks, even Nigerian stocks, right? Then cryptocurrencies, we all know what cryptocurrencies are. So the instrument under cryptocurrency is like Bitcoin is an instrument, Ethereum is an instrument, maybe Polkadot is also an instrument. So that is when we talk about financial instrument, that is actually what it means. Yeah.
Okay, so I think, just like you said, I like the word you use, classes. And just like we said earlier, this is going to be one of the most easiest financial trading class you'll actually be attending, because we're not going to overwhelm you with a lot of English and a lot of jargons. So just like what Daniel said, when you talk about financial instruments, you're basically just talking about the classes of instruments that you actually do have on the market. So when I say classes, I am sure we all have a rather good understanding to what classes is. So we have different instruments, however, they are put into different categories. Just like what Daniel said, when you talk about commodities, you're talking about gold, you're talking about oil. When you talk about cryptocurrencies, you're talking about your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, and just like that. So every single instrument on the market has been put into into various classes. So when you actually tell somebody that I am a forex trader, you should understand that you mean you are a currency trader.
Exactly. And there have been this misconception between when you say
what?
I'm a forex trader, you
Yeah.
know, everyone is thinking, okay, you're doing other things, like maybe you're trading the stock markets,
Exactly.
maybe you're trading the stock market even, and you still call yourself
A
a
forex
trader,
trader.
right? So forex trading actually just means
You're
you're
a currency
exactly
trader.
you're a
Yes.
currency trader.
So when you talk about the forex market, you're basically talking about the currencies market. So speaking of the forex market, right? So Daniel, what can you tell us about the forex market?
Well, now the forex market is actually the largest market so far, right? It's about, the last time I checked, we were talking about $9 trillion in volume and about over $1 trillion that is being traded or exchanged on a daily basis. And it's actually a large market where you have different foreign currencies you can trade. You can maybe you're trading one for the other. I know there are about seven there are about 7 major currencies that we have there, ranging from the US dollar to the euro to the pounds, the Japanese yen, New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, and Swiss franc, right? So
Of course.
those are like the major, and also Japanese yen, before I forget that. So those are like major currencies that we have out there. So there are other currencies that we have that you can trade against themselves. The forex market is actually very, very interesting, very liquid, and it's not so volatile, but it's a very interesting and a very profitable market to trade on.
And that is actually the biggest market we have. It is literally the largest. And when you talk about forex, you're actually talking about foreign exchange. So definitely why the forex market is going to remain the largest market is because we are always doing forex. There's always an exchange in something, especially when it comes to currencies. Every day we have people traveling the country. Even from your regular bureau de change, you're already doing foreign exchange. So it doesn't always have to be because it's forex. So your normal bureau de change, you're already doing forex already, or even in the bank. Exactly. The forex is actually going to remain one of the biggest liquefied market that we know. So when I hear people say things like the market is crashing, I am always very surprised. Like, what do you mean by the market is crashing? Because we're talking about the biggest market in the world right now. You are talking about crashing. What is going on?
I know, if you think about that word crashing, it just means the market is more or less selling off. And if you are selling, you
would be making
money.
Profit.
Exactly.
The goal is to make profit.
Exactly. So that's one of the beauty.
Irrespective of the direction on which the market is going, whether you're seeing red or green, as long as you're following the direction of the market, you're definitely going to be making profits. So just like we already know, we have one class of the market, which is the forex market. And you know that when we talk about the forex market, we're talking about foreign exchange, we're talking about currencies. So the next time you get to introduce yourself to someone as a financial trader, you want to be specific. Don't just go and say I'm a forex trader when you do not trade the foreign exchange market. So let's not do that to ourselves, because it's crazy when someone says, okay, what currencies do you trade? And you're like, okay, I trade gold. Nah, it's not adding up. So that is about it for the currency market.
All right, so I think let's just look at gold market, because gold has been, since 2020 during the COVID time, it has been like a major instrument that everyone more or less has been looking at, because in 2020 gold created or got to about $2,000 per ounce, and since then, even last year, gold rose massively. So it's close to about $3,000 per ounce at the moment, which is actually massive. So I think that would more or less help us to talk about the commodity market a little bit more. When you talk about the commodity market, you're talking about, like I said, there are like 3 classes of commodities, ranging from metals, where you have your gold, you have your silver, platinum, aluminium, but gold is like the most traded, then second followed by silver. Then you have the energies, we're looking at oil, exactly, natural, so, and oil, you have 2 different kind of oil. You have the US oil, which is like WTI, then you also have the Brent oil. All right, so that's like UK oil. Then we have agricultural product. It's just funny how you can trade soya beans on the market.
Yes, I know, right? And
Yeah.
it's actually one of the most profitable markets.
True.
You can trade your soya bean, you can trade your corn, you can trade your sugar, you can trade your coffee.
Yeah.
It might all sound funny, but trust me, guys, there is a lot of money on that market. Like
a lot
of. So when we say
lot.
food is expensive, even on the market,
Yes.
food is expensive.
It is expensive and you are buying because you will be making money.
Yes, but it's a market that actually produces a lot of volume when it comes to profitability. So just like we said, when it comes to commodities, has its own classes as well. You have the energy sector where you have your oil, your natural gas. You also do have your oils, that is your gold, your silver, and you have your agro commodities, which are your corn, coffee, sugar, and all of that. So when it comes to trading commodities, you also have to decide, okay, what type of commodities that you would want to trade. So of course, all of these things we're talking about are accessible to every trader. You just want to be able to understand your risk, just like we're actually going to talk about later in this episode. We'll definitely talk about how we can get to pick the best market.
Exactly, the best one that fits you.
Yes. So,
right, so before we go into that, Natasha can guess which this instrument is the new kid on the block.
There is nobody at all that doesn't know who the new kid on the block is. Cryptocurrencies.
Exactly. Well, no, everybody has been about the crypto market.
I mean, for the past couple of years, we've been talking about crypto. We've been hearing big money in crypto, big losses in crypto, and all of that.
And you know what? We usually hear stories of a time where Bitcoin was about less than $1. And now this year, Bitcoin got to, in fact, last year during the Trump election in 2024, Bitcoin got to over 100,000.
And earlier this year, it got to 106. I'm telling you that I followed that market, and I remembered when I used to have Bitcoin.
What happened? What did you do?
I sold it. I sat on Bitcoin for 6 months. Wow. Once I got my money back, I took it out and I left.
And the crypto market, funny enough, is a very, very highly volatile market.
It is very volatile.
And because of the hype we hear here and there about the crypto market, everyone has been flooding into the crypto market.
The crazy thing about it, when I get to speak to traders and they're like, I cannot expose myself to a lot of risk, and I'm like, okay, so what market are you in? And they're like, cryptocurrencies. And I'm like, you cannot expose yourself to a number of risks and you're on the crypto market. Like, what are we talking about? Like, the volatility in that market is actually very crazy. It is something, it's the new kid on the block, and it is really, really showing itself.
Yeah, true. And well, if you are maybe a less risk trader, you don't like to expose yourself too much.
Crypto is not your place, baby.
I don't think you should be doing crypto at the market at the time. Right?
Well, as much as we're talking about the risk, we already know that this particular market has a huge potential.
Exactly.
Gain.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money.
Like, there is a lot of money,
time.
right? As much as because when you look at the financial market, the way we would say it is, the higher the risk, the higher the reward, and that is where you actually find crypto. Whether you're talking about your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, I've gotten to profit from this both, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. Trust me, I know where my risks.
If you think about it too, like, there are 1,000,001 other cryptos out there aside from Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I believe that maybe going forward we will even invite a crypto expert to give us more info.
Don't forget, we are here to make money.
Yeah, so you want to actually stay on this podcast so you don't miss all of this information. So I think the last sector or last class we should go into is the stock market. So the stock market, which is actually usually call it a low risk market. So it's majorly just maybe you're buying into a particular company or you're buying to own a share of a particular
I think
company.
We should be very familiar with this one. So
I think, true. Like,
our parents did it a lot.
Exactly, they did it.
Yes, our parents did it a lot. We hear them say, "Oh, I bought GT shares, or I bought First
usually
Bank
shares.
Especially bank shares,
usually bank shares,
or UBA shares, or Union Bank." I mean, sometimes I will not lie. I've actually gotten to spend money from my mom's dividends.
Can you imagine?
Yes, like there was a day we were just there, and then they just sent her some amount, and she was like, "I just collected," and she just gave it to me, like, just go. So I would not lie. why stocks is actually a thing too.
Yeah, exactly.
And just like what Daniel said, it is actually low risk, and that is why we see most of our when you look at people who do Nigerian stock, you would see that they are mostly our aged parents. It's not something, but our generation right now, we're on crypto. We don't care. We want to make all the money.
Right,
make all the money.
That's true. But now, if you're, like you said, if you're a low risk person, you may want to more or less channel your energy more slightly into the stock market. But it's a
very profitable
market.
However, as much as it's profitable, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's something that both, you have to wait it out. So I'm buying today doesn't mean I'm going to sell tomorrow or it's going to double. In fact, you might actually still still get some losses before you actually still come back to profit, because this is stocks we're talking about, and there are certain things that would get to determine the profitability of a particular stock.
Yeah, true. And just to give a little highlight to how it works, you don't even need to stick to, maybe if you're in Nigeria, stick to trading or buying Nigerian stocks, or if you're in US, stick to buying US stocks alone. No, you can actually be in Nigeria or be in Africa and you are buying US stocks, or you're buying European stocks, or you're buying Chinese stocks. So you can be very versatile. You can decide which particular one you want. And there are so many stocks out there.
Exactly.
So you can be thinking, which should I buy, which can I buy, and that will more or less will bring us into ETFs.
Yeah.
So ETFs is more or less like having a basket of stocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get to that particular level, so definitely when you decide to invest in any stock of your choice, whether it be Nigerian stocks or the US stocks, you want to do your homework about it.
That's also very important.
You want to do your homework about it. You want to see how profitable it has been. You want to see, okay, if it has had to get some reduction, what has it been like? You want to know who owns the company. You want to know what their vision for that company is, because at the end of the day, let's not forget that we are here to make money, and that is why we're going to go through all of this knowledge for us to be able to make the best informed decision of what is actually going to work for us. So you want to always do your homework on whatever stock that you want to do. But I think we've actually sold a little bit above that, because just what Daniel was about to say, you can actually invest in more than one stock.
Exactly, true. So you can have a basket of stocks. So ETFs is more or less like, instead of trading individual stocks, or maybe you trade, maybe like there are 100 or 1,001 companies in the United States. You cannot look to buy each and every one of them. No. Now there are ETFs where you can have a basket of them, maybe 100 of stocks as one. So you can have maybe Tesla, you could have Nvidia, you can have Apple, you can have Google.
So if you're looking to do that, just buy the US 100.
Yeah, just buy the NASDAQ, right? Or the US 100. So just buy or maybe the S&P 500, where you have 500 largest companies in the United States all as one. So if you're more or less, maybe you're investing into US 500, it's more or less like you're, instead of individually buying 500 stocks, you just buy US 500 or the S&P 500,
and automatically you have 500 stocks.
You have a share in about
500 companies in the
United States. All right, so that's how interesting the ETFs can also be. All right, so I believe that you've been able to listen to all of this market, and let's also take a little while to talk about how you can actually choose the right instrument. Because if you're a newbie, or you are still learning on the block, you've not really gotten your footing, so you're still thinking, okay, what can I invest in, what can I trade on, and the likes, it's very important to know how to choose the right one.
Okay, so when you now decide that, okay, I actually do want to take advantage of this market and I want to trade, and you have seen your options. Okay, I have the currencies market, I have my commodities market, I have my ETFs, I have my crypto market, and I have my stock market. You're trying to wrap your head which would best serve you. Now, the first thing you want to decide, the first thing you want to answer to yourself is just what your risk tolerance is all about.
Exactly,
how like on a scale of 0 to 10, how much can you risk? That is your first, that should be, and nobody answers this question for you. This is something you have to be very honest about yourself with. If I'm going to be going into any of this market, what is my risk tolerance? Like, how can I go all the way, or can I just take it easy? Once you're able to make that, once you're able to answer that question, it makes it very easy to decide what you want to do. So let's say, for instance, you have a low risk tolerance. That is, in fact, you want to go to bed in peace. You don't want to wake up and you are screaming. You can look towards your stock market and your currencies market, right?
Yeah. So yeah, true. Very, very correct. The stock market, like I said, it has always, or usually it has been like the oldest market, and the risk that is tied to the stock market is somewhat a little bit lower. You understand? So if you are a low risk kind of person, if risk is not your middle name or is not part of your name
at all,
so you want to look at the stock market. And if you are average, you're not really a high risk or a low risk person, and you just want to do with something that you're average on, I think trading on the currency or the forex market would be like the best pick. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yes. To be like the best pick for you.
You have low risk in that market. I mean, your currencies market, it's even you're trading it even on a very comfortable lot size, you're still very good. And your stock market as well. So once you're able to decide, if you know that I do not have energy. So when people are telling you come and do crypto, you have it at the back of your mind that crypto is actually high risk.
Exactly.
Wake up one morning and your money is in the air. You do not know when it's coming back. This is why they say if you love something, you let it go. If it comes back, it is yours. That is crypto for you.
So if you are part of those that maybe risk is your first name or risk is your middle.
Yes, you have the money.
Yeah, you can go for crypto. You're gonna make a ton of money, a ton of money from it, but also be prepared to accept and embrace those possible losses once they come around.
Of course. So once you've decided that, then your next thought should be what your time.
The time
is very important. I know we all have the same 24 hours and we're all doing our own hustle. So you are able to tell just how much time you can spare to either do analysis or take advantage of some particular trades. And I'm sure at some point we're going to talk about the sessions that we have in the market.
Yeah, trading sessions.
Trading sessions. So based on your time, I know guys that actually trade like early hours in the morning.
Yeah, by 8 they are on the market. After maybe by 10 they are done for the day.
So whatever time, because the truth is this is not a market that you're coming to rush in and rush out.
Yeah.
Proper analysis have to be done, proper risk management have to be done. So you do not want to lose money based on I didn't just have the time to pay attention to it, because those are stories that, trust me. So you want to make sure that whatever you're investing in, whatever you want to trade in, is something that works good with your time, so that you're able to take your trades well, do your risk management, and make profit at the end of the day.
Yeah, and in regards to the time, if you are kind of person that you have the time to give to the market, right, you may want to look at trading more forex and the crypto market, because even the crypto market is always open 24/7.
Yes.
So if you have the time, you can actually do the forex or the crypto market. But if you're kind of person that don't have the time to sit in front of your screen, or you have a job, or maybe you travel a lot or something, we want to focus more on the stock market, right? The stock market gives you the opportunity to invest and let the market just play out in your favor as much as possible, right? So the last thing we'll be talking about considering, or some of the things you need to consider before choosing your market is actually the market conditions,
aka volatility.
Yes,
also
so they play a very huge role. Yeah, so some instruments, they actually perform better in different market conditions than the other. For example, during the US election, we're seeing the stock market rallying. We're seeing the crypto market, they were actually rallying.
There was some market that was not rallying during the election.
But really, if you look at the forex market, was the volatility in the forex market was little bit lower during that period.
Of course.
Yes. Market condition is actually very, very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this would also tell the type of trader that you are. We have different types of traders. We have different types of investors. That is, we have investors that want to see returns almost immediately. We have traders that want to see profit almost immediately. And we have the people that are willing to wait it out. So depending, we all know the kind of investors or traders that we are. We know ourselves. So you want to be truthful. So the market is a place that actually brings out the truths in you.
Honestly,
so
it brings out the real you.
It shows your your level of greed, it shows everything. So you want to be able to be very honest with yourself, and based on the market conditions, you cannot say, oh, I want to make as much as this amount of money within a short period of time, and you're on the currencies market.
Yeah.
You would find yourself just going in out, and if you're not careful, you'd end up accumulating losses.
Well, except you actually use maybe a larger volume to actually trade.
But compared to what the currency market will give you and what the ETFs will give to you, there's quite a difference.
Yeah, true.
So you just have to know, okay, what volatility works for you, how fast, because volatility is what determine how profitable a market is.
Yeah. So the faster the market,
the more money you can make.
Yeah,
so you have to also determine the one that actually works for you. So guys, remember 3 things you need to consider.
Yeah.
Daniel, can you list it
All right,
out?
so the first thing you need to consider is your risk tolerance. Very important.
Risk tolerance,
right?
guys.
So
how much can you bear?
Yeah, how much can you bear? Then also the time. Are you available more on that? Yeah. Then lastly, aka volatility. So
market condition, guys.
Exactly.
Every market has its rhythm, and you have to find the one that suits your dance step.
Yeah,
that is your trading style. You have to find what suits your dancing steps, so that you are able to stay as long as you need and also take as much as you want.
All right, Natasha, this has been quite exciting, really, right?
And it's been very educative. I think it has. Yes.
I mean, I think we should start charging our listeners.
Anything for you guys. Don't mind Daniel.
All right, don't mind me and money. All right, just to do a brief recap again, we've covered what financial instruments are.
Yes,
different
that is a tool as a trader, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about your financial instrument, those are your tools as a trader. That is what you have available to make money with. So you want to know what you have available. So we're not just jumping into the market because, oh, my friend says he trades this and I want to trade this. No, you're going into the market. It's like a whole shop.
Yeah.
And for we girls that like to shop, if you are a trader, you would be excited because there's a lot you can actually shop from, right?
Yeah, there's a lot you can
However, we know say better so na money kill am. So
and if you're not careful, you just end up doing everything. And at the end of the day, making nothing.
Making nothing. So just like you already said, you already know the classes of instruments you have, from forex to commodities to ETFs, cryptocurrencies, indices, stocks, and so much more, guys. And you also want to know that all of these instruments we just mentioned has their different rhythm to it.
Yeah.
So you want to find what works for you.
Yes.
If you're comfortable in the currency market, go for it. You like your stock better, do it. You want cryptocurrency, risk it. Trust me, there's always a reward to it. The bigger the risk, they say, the bigger the reward. And
very importantly, you need to choose wisely.
Of course,
your goals, your vision,
and your risk management. And don't forget that the goal is to make profit. Exactly. So we're not here to make losses. So guys, understanding each of these instruments is key, like we said, before diving into trading. So they all have different risk and reward, and so choose wisely, just like we said. That's something that fits your trading goals and style.
Well, true, yeah. And well, like I said, it has been a very exciting episode, trust me. And well, before we go, if you've been able to listen to this very moment, next time I think we'll be looking more into the mindset or psychology behind trading.
Of course,
right?
guys.
Which is a very important
if there was a promise I made on this show for the first episode, like I said, if you have not listened to the first episode, please go back so that you know why we are here. Good. Now, like I said, I'm trying to make this, or we are actually trying to make this the easiest trading class that you can actually attend, and we're taking this show just as if we're learning trading again. So if we're supposed to learn trading again for the second time, we think this is the best way. We would have loved to learn it.
Exactly.
So that is why we're bringing it to you guys, so that you guys don't have to go through all that stress. I want to learn how to trade. I want to learn how to trade. And sometimes when I see some people, I'm like, okay, this person has to lose money first before you understand. But we really do not have to do that. So guys, so on our next episode, we're going to be talking about your mindset as a trader, the psychology of trading. You want to make money. We already have psychology of money. So the psychology of trading, guys, we're going to be bringing that to you. And
we'll also maybe go forward and maybe we'll be inviting an important guest.
Yeah.
Right? The importance is we
Guys,
actually
I'm so
inviting
excited
an
about this
important
guest because I've been wanting to meet this person for a very, very long time. So it is I am excited. Daddy, I'm going to clean my shoe. See, it's going to be packed, guys. So
Alright, so
do
you don't
not
want to
miss
actually
it.
miss the next episode. But until then, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It was really amazing episode,
And we hope that
yeah.
you learned as much as we learned.
Exactly.
So guys, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, don't forget to subscribe.
Yes,
don't forget
follow.
to subscribe so you do not miss the next episode. You don't know where you don't know the episode you listen to and then you make money, so you don't want to miss any episode. So
guys, put on the notification
exactly
bell right there.
And don't forget, if there's anything you like to hear, any questions you want to ask, anything you want us to talk about, you can drop it for us on our DMs. You can also send us a message. Please do that. We would really love to hear from you too.
All right, yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Your guys, Daniel and
Natasha.
Right, so thank you. Until next time,
see you in the market.
Bye.